going to note that the meeting's called to order at 1:02 p.m. Realizing from YouTube that that's info I don't have. Okay, so going over my spreadsheet. So Brian Switzer
Here.
here. Jerry here.
Barrier here. Yep.
And Rebecca Davis is not here. Martha Daigle. Okay, I'm going to mark her as not here. Naomi Goldberg. Okay, for now, I'll mark her as not here. Jennifer Harnish, I'm here. Jennifer Whitmore. Okay, not here. Priscilla.
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. And Commissioner Oliveira.
I'm here.
So that puts us at 4 to hold a meeting. So that is so we need one more to have a quorum for the meeting. So right now, what do we call it? An unofficial meeting?
I believe we have 5. You, me, Jerry, Commissioner, and Priscilla. That make 5 out of the 9.
Perfect.
So we have majority there. I think with you, me, and Jerry being official or voting members, we would not be able to vote on meeting minutes. So we'll postpone voting on meeting minute. But because 5 out of the 9 are here, we are able to hold the meeting.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming today. Jean, I saw that you are with the CAP program from the Massachusetts Office of Disability. So the CAP program, we have a representative on the RC, and that is Naomi Goldberg, who unfortunately is not here today, but we're happy to have you, Jean, come and observe and take notes, and you're always welcome to participate at the end as well. Yeah, I know Sarah sent me a note saying that she was not able to attend, and Sarah Wild usually attends as well, just to be informed on what's happening with the RC and the CAP what information the CAP program needs to know about the RC.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. The first agenda item that we have today is around the commissioner update. Would you like to share, Commissioner Oliveira?
Okay, ready? Sure. So we'll start with the internship program here at the agency is kicked off yesterday. Opening ceremony. We had our soft skills training back in May for the interns for the summer, and we had the opening ceremony yesterday. Now comes with finishing the placement of those that are still seeking placements, and those who have placements can start anytime and get their hours in. So we're back to almost 60 interns, and it's a good start, and we're looking forward to getting those numbers, getting folks back into the a lot of them are in person, some are hybrid, some are a small number are virtual only, but we held the opening ceremony yesterday online, but we will be holding the closing ceremony in August in person at the State House. So the job fair continues to move forward in the planning stages. The employer education seminar that we offer before the job fair is well underway to be in. Most of the content is being developed right now, and we'll offer that. That's sort of an opening event, an introductory event for the individuals, companies who are coming to the job fair. So refresh your memory, this is a reverse job fair where we allow the interested individuals that are looking for employment to present to the employers. And it'll be online, and they do their elevator speech, we call it, and we provide all of the employers that are attending with resumes up front, and they watch and listen to the elevator speech, and if they're interested, they reach out to the consumer and arrange for either a virtual or an in-person interview. That's worked well for a couple of years, and I think it seems to be really liked by the employers. And doing it virtually, we've stayed with that because it saves a lot of the transportation time that folks use to get back and forth to the job fair, and it gives them a very comfortable environment that they're in, and it gives us time to they have time to present, to perfect their elevator speech and practice. So so far the trend seems to be, and we get good reviews from the participants, the consumers who are looking for jobs. So we'll continue with this format for going forward, and see how it works out. I met with the team from NIB, National Industries for the Blind. They were here in Boston on some other business, and dropped by the agency. We had a good conversation, still talking about the self-employment initiative and what we could do as far as developing more training, developing different ways of delivering the training, and different ideas for self-employment opportunities. Where we're having conversations. We did have, we were going to start a third cohort of these individuals who are interested in being self-employed, and we had an online event, and we had a number of consumers attend, but no one chose to go forward after that online presentation. So this cohort, we will have none. So we still have individuals from the first two cohorts working on getting their business ideas off the ground and getting them to move forward. So it's a long road to starting a business and developing your plan and developing the market that you're trying to serve. And so it's quite a project, and it's not for all of our consumers, and it's for those who have a lot of self-motivation and are very interested and motivated in being self-employed, trying out different ideas and different ways to try to achieve enough of a wage that you can make a living at it. But we'll see how that develops. It is tough. They are working with 2 or 3 other states. Let's see if we have any other luck in these other states as we see other consumers trying to start their road towards becoming self-employed. So MCB has partnered with MRC and DTA. We're reviewing the comprehensive integrated employment services. We're looking at the services we buy. We're looking at the way we buy them, how they're serving consumers, the length of time consumers use them for. So MRC contracted with a vendor that's going to be coordinating all of the statistics gathering and all of the information that they need, trying to always enhance and improve the purchases we buy. And for those of you who are not familiar with that term, comprehensive integrated employment services, we're talking about evaluations, training, job development, job placement, and post-employment services. So we purchase these for some of the consumers as they work their way through towards their job goal. And DTA purchases them also, and MRC, so Department of Transitional Assistance and Mass Rehab Commission. Sometimes we use our acronyms, and just be sure that everyone understands the acronyms that we're using. I just set them out. I was in a meeting earlier this week, and a lot of acronyms are being thrown around, and some folks asked for the acronyms to be described. So just wanted to cover that before we get any questions on that, if we were going to get questions. So the that'll be a project that will go on for a little bit, and hopefully we can fine-tune the services that we are purchasing for consumers and make them as accessible and usable for the individuals who are seeking an employment goal. Also, MRC and MCB have collaborated on an application to look at the cliff effect regarding SSI recipients. This particular project will look only at SSI recipients, from what I understood my last conversation, and seeing if we can remove some of the barriers to those individuals who are receiving SSI to allow them to experiment more with work without receiving a penalty or being penalized regarding their benefits. So that's an application that's being developed and will be submitted. So we're not sure if we're going to get that, but MRC is the one that's applying. We're supporting it, and we'll be partner with them if the grant comes in. So that's we'll look for that in the future. Maybe have some more news on that by the next quarter. Touching on the budget briefly, MCB was level funded again as an FY25 budget. I'm sure you've heard that. We also, the budget process is going forward, so that continues, and we'll have a new FY25 budget sometime in July or when it gets signed. We are also looking at our federal funds. We've received the balance of the federal funds. So our VR grant, our Older Independent Blind grant, our Supported Employment grant have all been, the balance has been delivered to us. Those run out, or those can run out on September 30th. And we'll continue to use those funds and try to manage what we do best to make those funds go as last as possible. So as I say that, I want to mention that we have done a good job at mentioning the maintenance of effort deficit that we were dealing with. We were able to utilize substantial portions of the fiscal 23 budget, stretched that out a little bit, covered some of the shortfall in the fiscal 24 federal budget. So that's we just started using the federal budget sometime in March, April, and that was the target to start using it then. So we're doing fairly well, and we're going to continue to manage the budget closely. Our CFO was meeting with the budget directors to get a good handle on the funds that they may not be using, so we could move them around or change the way that funds were being used. We've done all that, and it proved to be very, very educational, and it worked out. It worked out very well. Just speaking of our chief financial officer, Sheila left onto another opportunity, but we have posted the position, and I believe we received 28 applicants so far. We're starting to review, and we'll be interviewing next week. Sheila will be continuing to help us out over the next couple of weeks in any projects that need her expertise, and otherwise the fiscal team is pulling together, and we're preparing for the closeout of the fiscal year and the reopening of the new fiscal year. So that's one of the major issues going on now at the agency. All the departments are reviewing their funds to see if they are going to be able to spend it. Otherwise, they can release the funds, and all that money moving around and all these different things happening. We obviously, as we do every year, will revert a little bit of money. And when it gets to a certain point, we're not able to move money, or there's not enough time to purchase the service for the client. So we just will let that money go till either be reverted, or some of it we can roll over. The federal money we can roll over, and that'll expire on September 30th. So that's so that we'll be in good shape as far as that goes. I'll take a little break here. If you have any questions, I can answer them now. Otherwise, we can move on with the agenda.
No, that sounds great. I do have a few questions for you. The entrepreneurship program, the self-employment program, how many people are participating in the third cohort?
Okay. We had an online meeting, I believe, somewhere in the teens. I wasn't there in attendance, but I was told maybe 13, 14 people attended, I believe. But none have chosen to move forward at participating in this time around. It's a good place to come and listen, and sometimes you listen and you choose not to go forward. It does take a particular type of personality and a particular type of person to want to move forward and start your business, and it does involve a lot of sort of educational type materials, a lot of training, developing a business plan, and then before you get to do anything. So they must have chosen that they weren't that far along yet, or were not committed that far to do all that they needed to do. And we offered totally online, so it doesn't matter what town they live in here in Massachusetts. They would have been able to participate as far as the training part goes. But it's unfortunately it's none. But it's not that surprising that we had with a low attendance that we didn't have any participants. But we do still have a member, at least one from the last cohort, still finishing up some of the training aspects of the program that's going on, and they've written a business plan and trying to work for that forward.
Great. Yeah, I'm glad it's fully remote. It'll give people, especially in those harder to reach area parts of Massachusetts, an opportunity to be able to participate. As far as being level funded, was MCB able to receive earmark funding as well as your typical funding? Or has
Well, we
that not
don't,
been announced yet?
well, we don't know anything. The earmarks are state funded,
Mhm.
so we don't know anything about those until after the state budget process is completed. So that's the sort of a wait and see attitude.
For the fiscal year 2025, do we still have to return fund to RSA, or have we completed that process at the end of FY24?
So the funds that we returned to RSA were funds from previous years
Mm-hmm.
that were not returned. So those were returned, and the maintenance of effort penalty was because of the matching grant situation that occurred in the early 20s was taken from the 24 federal grant, which we are just starting to use. So what happens with federal funds is that if you match it appropriately and do the right things, you actually have 2 years to spend that funding.
Mhm.
So what we did was with 23 funding, since that was fine, we were able to stretch it and use it until like February, March of this year. So the 24 funds we just started using, but that's the funds that received the reduction for the penalty from the previous situation. So therefore, since we started using it March, April, there will not be any other issues as far as we'll still continue to manage it and move money around and make sure that we're using all the money. But we should have no problem as far as that goes. We didn't have any reduction in services and don't anticipate any reduction in services or staffing and all that. So pretty much the problem has been managed and dealt with, and we'll look forward as RSA continues to reviews. We do project that there might be another problem that they're going to pick up on. That would be another projection much less than this one. We'll see if that in fact happens or not. So we don't have to really get into that right now. That's just an analysis that was done by former budget director, and he was anticipating. But it's certainly an amount that can easily be managed, and we'll deal with that as if it in fact takes place. But right now, we've done well with this one, and it's as far as RSA is concerned, they've taken the deficit already. They take it off the top, so we have all the funds for 24 that we're going to get, and we're just moving right along.
Fantastic to hear. The deputy commissioner, is there any update around hiring someone to take your former role?
Yes.
1:26 p.m. and 13th.
It's with HR, and there is a candidate, and they're going through the HR process. So hopefully by the time we have the next meeting, hopefully they will be on board. Well, they should be on board. But it's an HR, it's in a process right now. That's pretty much what I have, and we'll hopefully have different news the next quarter.
That sounds great. We look forward to the announcement and when they are able to participate in the net RC meeting. That'd be great. Have them along as well. Have you heard anything more around appointment to the RC? Right now, I did let Jennifer know, and we're actually down a member because Devin it not being reappointed to the RC. So we are even a smaller group than the last time we met. And so it'd be great. I don't know if you have any more information than what I do around the appointments and where we stand and all that.
No, I think you and I have been copied on all the emails that have been going back and forth. I think that all the documents that needed to be collected have been collected and submitted, right? And so I think the process now is getting through the background checks and whatever they have to do.
Yeah, my understanding is on our end we're all set, but
Yeah.
you know, hopefully we can get the appointment through. I know it's a long process, but it'd be great to have a slightly larger group than we do now. I will open it up to Jennifer and Jerry and Priscilla, if you guys have any question for the commissioner.
Commissioner, I know there have been some positions posted for other MCB roles. Any update on those? And I'm thinking of the technician role, and I think there were some RT roles as well. I'm correct.
Yeah, we're posting. We're looking for
1:28 p.m. and 50.
qualified applicants. The number of applicants applying is small,
1:29.
and we continue to try to find individuals that can do the job. So yeah, you've seen postings.
100.
There's an AT posting out there now. There's you know, and as you said, there's been some RT postings. So other than that, the process is going on, and we'll see if they find candidates that are able to fill the positions.
Yeah, all the best with that.
We're certainly looking for them, and we're trying to get the postings out there. And we, again, hope that qualified candidates apply, and be glad to bring them on board when the time comes.
Yeah, I hope people do apply. The AT team over at MCB is fantastic. I was able to introduce myself at their last meeting, and I know they're a great team to work for. So hopefully, there's a lot of people applying for the AT role. Any other questions? All right, we should talk about the MCB satisfaction survey that went out. We talked about it last time, but I know there would be more information coming out about the survey. Is there an update from the last time we met?
Nate, do you have anything on that?
Good afternoon. Yeah, Brian, are you talking about the all consumer survey that went out, or the?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that is posted and available for people to review. We have reviewed it within internally with staff, and overall the satisfaction piece of the all consumer survey came back very positive. We were mostly satisfied with around 85% with most of our services, which was great. Obviously, there's room for improvement, and we are looking at ways that we can improve that. But excited about taking those steps and moving forward to see if we can get even better results in the next one.
Are you able to elaborate on what kind of stuff you're taking to improve the survey for the next time around?
Yeah, we're looking at reaching different communities that may be underserved. We've met with each of the regions to identify some of those communities and talk through maybe some of those communities that exist that came through on the survey. and how we're going to address that, how we're going to communicate to them, and how to better serve them.
By underserved community, are you talking about like people with dual disability, people in hard to reach area, the like Western Mass, or
Yeah, a
yeah.
little bit of all above, different race and ethnicities, different age groups, different locations. There was a number of things we were able to identify where, maybe we could do a little bit more as far as outreach goes and communication goes, and maybe different ways to better communicate with those folks. Same thing with young people and those type of things. So we're looking really all across the board, anything that we could identify, and if we can be creative in ways to better serve them, we're going to talk about them and try them.
How often and how are BRC reaching out to consumers? In my experience, some of the people I've met, they have a VRC, but they're not in great contact with the person, and they're not getting a lot of guidance around how move forward in receiving services, and how information being disseminated through the VRC.
Yeah, it's the responsibility of the case managers to connect with folks every so often. So we're making sure that happens, and there's things like case notes and other things that identify in the case management system that is happening. We did through the all consumer surveys. One of the gaps that we did identify is folks that decline services up front when we reach out, or people that we can't connect with. So we're talking about maybe ways that we reconnect, just to whether we reach out in a certain period of time and say, hey, we understand that you decline services, but we just want to let you know we're still here if needed. This is the best way to communicate with us if you do decide that you do need services, and those type of things. So we're talking about different ways that we might be able to do that going forward.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great. And you know, we previously talked about disseminating services around what MCB is able to do, the brochure. Are consumers receiving that information around what services MCB offered, and is that being transparent?
Yeah, when they register with us, they get a packet that explains all that, including that brochure.
Okay. That sounds great. Yeah, I know there's a few consumers that we've been working with that were not aware of all the services that are open to them.
Yeah, I think sometimes people miss it. We send it out, and if they're not expecting it, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And I think that might be one of the reasons why we do implement something that we reconnect at some point. What that timeline is, we're still discussing, but another communication later on, just saying, again, we're here if you need us type deal.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, I wish everyone was aware of all the great stuff MCB doing and providing for people. I know being able to get connected with MCB and the Carroll Center and Burton and other vendors in the area has really been life changing. I hope everyone's aware of the great services that are available to them. Jennifer, Priscilla, or Jerry, do you guys have a question for Nate? Nate, is there any updates around the dashboard?
Yeah, I can give an update on that. We're working on right now the methodology of how I manually pull the numbers currently, and we're trying to put that methodology into code to do it automatically. So that's where we are with the process right now. We're going back and forth. Actually, I'm meeting with them Friday afternoon to kind of see how that's going, and it's moving forward. It's a little bit slower, just getting the information back and forth, and obviously we're doing that um, often just to understand the best way to do this project. We want to make sure that we're trying to get as much done in one report as we can, but we're not sure if we can do that on our side. We might need to run multiple reports to get the information that we want on the dashboard. That's something that I'm working on my end. If there's ways that we can combine that information into a single report from our case management system. And I've been working on that over the last couple of weeks to just kind of explore if that's possible or not. If we have to do multiple reports, we will. That's fine. I'm just trying to make it as efficient as possible right now. But it is moving forward. Their target date is this fall for completion, and I don't see any issues for us completing it by that point.
Yeah, that sounds great. And how often would you be pulling report? Like right before like we all meet? Like how often are you pulling report?
So for the dashboard, for this dashboard project, we want to update the dashboard monthly. So that is the goal. And it would be, whatever we decide, the first of the month, you have it updated, or, the last of the month, whatever is the best way to do it. It's we haven't really discussed when it's going to happen, but the plan is to do it monthly. But to have the ability to change that. So if we decide that we want to do it more often or less often, we'll be able to. And the whole point of the project is that we'll be able to control it from our end at MCB as often as we want, to be able to add content or take content away depending on the need. We might have something on there now that we decide isn't very helpful for folks. And we might need to add something in the future that we don't, we might not be thinking of right now that we want to add later down the line. We want to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. Do you happen to have the numbers for what's currently going on with
I do.
That'd be great to share.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. I can bring that up. All right, so I'm bringing up just an Excel spreadsheet here, and it has
Nate, after the meeting, is it possible to share out the spreadsheet for RC members?
yeah, absolutely.
Not everyone will be able to see your screen, and I'm sure you'll do a great job describing it, but it'd be great also be able, go through with your screen reader on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll do my best to describe it here. So this is our MCB dashboard as of yesterday, 6/4/2024. The first kind of block of statistics we have here is around total registrations. We have the total registrations for this year so far. So this is describing the calendar year, how many registrations came in so far since January 1st till now. We've had 831 newly registered people with MCB as of January 1st this year. So this puts us online pretty much exactly to what we had last year. We had a total of 1,850 last year. And we expect to be, we had 131 people come in this month, and we expect close to that next month. So it'll put us up around 950 for the end of the half a year here. So we expect to be right around that 1,800 to 1,900 mark again this year. Things will slow down a little bit in July and August, and then pick back up this fall. That's kind of the usual ebb and flow of registrations in past years. We did have a little bit more in 2022. We had 2,174. That's the year that we came out of COVID. So we had a little bit of an increase in our registration number that year. In the year before, 2021, we had 1,243. So that was one of the COVID years, and they were both a little bit down from what we normally would see coming into the agency. The next block of statistics we have here is our registrations and the current inventory with folks that are currently being registered. As of yesterday, this morning, we had 4 people that we had being registered, with the oldest case being yesterday. We're processing registrations in 1 to 2 days at the most. I actually had a meeting with the registrar earlier this morning, and we had nothing currently in process at that point. So we're almost getting them in and out as soon as we get them currently, which is great. And as it shows on this particular block of data, we really haven't had any registrations in process over the last several months. So it's just they're moving in, moving out, and we haven't had any type of backlog or cases waiting to be registered. Really over the last year and a half, we haven't seen that. So that's where we are with those. The next section is open SR and children's SR cases. And it goes through each month. I run these every month. And we haven't seen much change over the last 5 or 6 months. We currently have 858 SR children cases open. We have 2,246 SR adult cases open, and we have 1,118 SR DBES cases open, with a total of 4,222 SR cases currently open with the agency. And that's been slowly upticking over the last 6 months. Going back 5 months ago, we're at 4,131 compared to 4,222 right now. So we're seeing a slow uptick in SR.
Is there an explanation for why SR would be going up so much?
It's not much. It's kind of a slow uptick. I just think we're getting a few more people in SR in general, and the cases might be going up a little bit too. It might be a little bit longer runway currently with some of the folks, so they're staying open longer, maybe in some cases. But nothing. I don't want to say there's anything alarming here. It's just 100 cases between now and 6 months ago.
Okay.
Same thing for open VR cases. Again, a slow uptick. We currently have 750 VR adults with open cases, 217 pre-ets cases open, and 13 transition youth open. We're a total of 980 VR cases currently open, as opposed to 5 months ago we had 948. So again, a small uptick there, which is good.
What's the difference between a transition youth and someone who qualified for pre-ed?
They're outside of a school setting, so they're a little bit different than the pre-ets.
Okay.
The next one we have here is our closed cases. So our closed cases, this is for the calendar year for SR that we track it. And we have 63 children's cases closed so far since January 1st, and 1,069 SR adult cases closed since January 1st. So definitely higher. I'm wondering if that, let's see, 1,069 SR. Yep. So that's where we currently are. We had 2,150 cases closed last year. So we're about halfway through the year. So kind of right on line where we were last year with both closed cases for SR and children and adults. The next one is the VR closed cases. So this one we track by fiscal year. And this to align with our RSA requirements. We are happy to report that we are currently at 150 successful closed VR cases for the year. That is an increase from our last years. We've been pretty steady over the last several years for our VR case closures. Last year we were at 147. The 3 years prior to that, we were at 145. So we did hit 150 so far this year with 86 non-successful closures, and right along the same line, the total number of closures that we've had for the year, we had 236 so far this year. We had 254 last year, 230 the year before that. So continue to have success there. So we're excited about that number. The total number of support services, this is the number of folks that are currently open that are referred to either O&M, RT, or AT services. So that's orientation and mobility, assistive technology, or rehabilitation teaching services. So far, we've referred close to 2,000. We've done close to 2,000 referrals so far this year. Last year we did 4,200, so right along the lines there. And also just to mention here, one person could have multiple referrals. They could be referred to all three or multiple times during the course of a case being open. And for our auxiliary services, so this is kind of these some of the functions that our registration team does, other than registering folks that come into the agency. We provide certificates of blindness. So far, we've done 3,447 certificates of blindness this year. We've done 517 IDs have been issued so far this year. We've done 157 applications over to EDP and 37 disabled placards. So we do quite a bit of COBs in a year. We did close to 8,000 last year and close to 7,500 the year before that. We expect to be over 8,000 this year. They go up a little bit every year. This is, folks need these for a number of different reasons, but we see a big increase in these requests in July and August because of the tax abatements. So we're gearing up to get a big influx of those coming in over the next few months, and the registration team is prepared to handle that. They've gotten a few new printers that help out with the IDs as well, that have made that process much more efficient than it was in the past. So things are going well there as also. So that's what we have for the statistics this month. I'll be happy to share this with anybody who would like to see it. And that's very similar to what our outwardly facing dashboard is going to look like. And a lot of the same information will be on that dashboard that will be front facing for the public on our website as well. So just a heads up on that. And I do see a question from Rebecca.
Is that Rebecca Davis?
Yes.
Yeah, hi. Can
Hi.
you hear me okay?
Happy to have you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just a couple questions. Thank you so much for this information. I'm Rebecca Davis. I work with the Federation for Children with Special Needs, and I am the parent of a young person who has cortical visual impairment. But I was just curious because I also work with VR. You mentioned the pre-ets vendors that you work with and the youth who are working with them. Do you have specialized pre-ets vendors? I'm just curious. Like when you have a youth who's visually impaired, is there a specific agency they work with, or is everybody trained to work with kids with visual impairments? How does that work?
For our staff, you're talking about, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Yeah, our staff. So the pre-ets caseload is handled across the board by any of our service workers, our case managers. VR case managers are able to handle those cases.
So you are the vendor for all kids who have visual impairments. There's not another vendor to handles the pre-ets.
I think John should. We do work with other entities too. I think John's going to jump in here now and explain it.
No, so what you're asking about is vendors that offer the services that we offer to consumers. We contract the services with vendors. We have counselors are the case managers of the pre-ets cases, but the services that we deliver to them are provided by the outside vendors. Carroll Center, Perkins, a variety of different Polis Center.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there's a good number of them.
Gotcha. And so it's basic, but it would be Carroll, Perkins Center, in the West. Who would
in the West? It's mostly the Polis Center.
Cool. I don't know that one. I'll have to look that one up.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I'm just still learning how things work here.
There's about 15, 16 different vendors on there. So
very, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Viability is another one I know is out west.
Viability in Western
Viability.
Mass has
Okay,
done
great.
some work for us. Yeah.
Great. We get intake calls all the time, and I'm always it's good for me to know how this works. Thank you. So you said with the transition age youth, does that include, and maybe it doesn't, but Next Gen Careers, which is a pilot program that's working with VR? Do you have numbers on that, or are they lumped in?
We have, Next Gen doesn't include, this is 14 to 22.
Oh, right. Yep.
All right. Next Gen is a little later than that. But we do have consumers that are also involved in Next Gen from MCB too.
Right. Yeah, the Next Gen covers 18 to 30. So I just wondered. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Can I ask one more question? You said non-successful closures. You have a list for that. So when they're non-successful, do you expect them to try again? I mean, I know that when a VR case closes, if it's not successful, they have an option to try again.
Yeah.
What is your experience with that?
Yeah, it could be a number of different reasons. They could just not have reached their goal. And
Yeah.
unsuccessful is the terminology we use because that comes from RSA. A lot of those cases are successful in a lot of ways. They're building a lot of skill sets and
Sure,
might
sure.
receive services. And the unsuccessful means they just didn't get the vocational goal that they had set.
That
So a lot
goal.
of times those cases will reopen with a different vocational goal or a different track.
Okay. Thank you
Some
very
of-
much. I appreciate
Some
your
of them
time.
might close because of a medical reason or they're
Right, of course.
unable.
So you're talking about that one specific goal. Yeah, got it.
Yep, there's a number of different reasons.
Okay. Thank you.
Rebecca, an FYI, Jennifer Whitmore, who's on the Rehabilitation Council, is part of the Police Center.
Oh, great. Okay.
I'm always welcome to be a contact for Priyet's
Sure.
as far as the Carroll Center goes, and I know I can connect you with Priyet people over at Perkins as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. This is
You're welcome.
really helpful. Thank you.
So it really should start with it all starts with your case manager though, because the
Mhm.
case managers have to generate the referral for us to pay for the service.
Mhm.
So really, you don't really, if your child needs, or okay, let's not get personal, but if a consumer needs the services in consultation with their case manager, then the referral's made to the appropriate vendor that covers that part of the state or that
Sure.
service. And if there need be, we could arrange. We can bring in additional vendors to do other types of services. So that's why it's important to always go to the case manager because they have access to all of the different resources and they go to their supervisor if they don't know the answer and we will make sure that it happens. So it's always the best place is to start with the case manager here at the agency.
Great. At the agency, right. So these are kids with sensory loss, so they have a case manager through MCB. For kids who don't have sensory loss, it would be their transition person or somebody at their school who would do that referral to a vendor. Is that correct?
They have to have a case with MRC or
Yeah, got it.
or MCB.
Gotcha. Okay,
And
thank you.
In any case, they would have a case manager with MRC or MCB.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Rebecca. Any other question for Nate? Nate, one of our goals for the Rehabilitation Council is to start covering WIOA state plan and the recommendations around that and making sure that we're meeting MCB meeting that goal for the state plan. Are you prepared to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you just want to like a quick overview of what we need to do with those objectives. Do you want to go through the objectives?
Yeah, and where we stand. And I know Jennifer would also like to talk about Title II, and how that might affect some of our goals as well. But yeah, where does MCB currently stand with its goals and would talk about some of the objective. I sent around the state plan to DRC members, but I'm not sure if they had seen the document before, so it might be great to go through it a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go through the recommendations and I think the state plan was just approved. So it got approved late last week. John and I received a message that the RSA commissioner had approved it. So it's in place. You can review it at the WIO website. And these objectives that we'll go through now are on there. And so we're beginning that process now and we'll talk. This is a process, so it's this could be objectives that are reached in a year, 2 years, 3 years. So the WIO state plan is a 5-year plan. So these are some of the objectives that we had discussed and that are on there. So I'm going to share that now. All right, so I'm bringing up just a Word document here, and it's gonna, I think we had 8 recommendations on here. If I remember correctly, yep, we have 8. So we'll go through that, and in some places, so we're gonna talk about these at least every other meeting, if not every other meeting, just to kind of give updates on where we are with different things. It'll be part of Brian's annual report at the end of each year, how we're doing in each one of these things, and
Thank
any
you so
feedback
much.
that comes back from the RC. So for the 3-year part of this plan, was 2024 2027. Recommendation number 1 is work in coordination with Department of Education and Secondary Education, DESE, to ensure MCB social service and vocational rehabilitation staff can fully participate in IEP meetings for children and youth. So we have identified when we are there at the table for these IEP meetings, a lot of the times the goals with these kids are more successful. It allows us to also advocate for the child, and to sometimes educate the education Department of Education on what their responsibilities are as opposed to what our responsibilities are, and also to be there for the family. So that is one. We are in process with that already. We are communicating with DESE in setting some things up to discuss the best way to do this. There is a communication that exists now that is from a couple commissioners ago, and it still exists, still available to them, but it's something that at this point can be updated. I think that original communication went out when WIOA first started. So we've already gone through that process for a while. So we want to probably update that communication and find ways that we can be at that table often. If not 100% of the time. We are there often now. We have done a good job in representing our consumers at these meetings, but we want to make sure we're at all of them. Recommendation number 2 is to continue to advocate for digital accessibility, including state and local government portal systems, including all applications for services and all documents posted on these portals, as well as address the inaccessibility of online job applications. Something that's kind of a carryover from our last one. It's something that we continue to do and are often talking to different entities on how to increase accessibility, and make sure that it's there. We run into it in our own secretariat sometimes, and in collaborating with folks and communication back and forth. So it's something that we're always doing. Recommendation 3 is to leverage the results of the 2003 All Consumer Survey to identify communities in need of targeted education of those services that MCB provides and how to access those services. So something we talked about a little bit earlier this meeting. We have met with all the different regions to discuss this, and how can we better reach out on a regional level to these different communities that we've identified. Recommendation number 4, work with state and community partners to strengthen the quality of candidates applying for positions with MCB and its partners. This includes exposing students to fields needed to support the vocational service program directly and indirectly. So, John, do you want to talk a little bit about what you have done with this this piece with bringing people to the table to discuss this? Or I can actually. So I'll just jump. So John has brought a number of different entities to the table to kind of discuss this, and had a meeting not too long ago about how we best do this, how we best expose students to the opportunities that are available in this field, and let them hopefully get into it. And there's a number of different vocational needs that we have, and specifically with UMass Boston, Springfield College, just to name a couple. There's some state schools, but we want to expand it beyond that, to other states and recruit people to want to get into this field and obviously eventually come into MCB as well. Recommendation 5 is to review transportation accessibility and its impact on the ability of consumers to pursue vocational objectives. Increase the exposure of telework opportunities and telework skills training to help mitigate the barrier of transportation, especially in rural areas in the Commonwealth. So transportation is always one of the biggest obstacles for folks. We have done a lot of work in trying to improve the different transportation opportunities, and especially the rural areas of the state. It's much more difficult, but we have with telework, and one thing that has come out of a positive that has come out of the COVID situation is kind of the implementation of telework and the ability and trust in telework. So that has been very helpful in teaching those skill sets around telework and how to be prepared for that to kind of mitigate the transportation barriers a little bit. You know, we've even been involved in things like in the past, we did a big research project, and I've spoken in a couple of different autonomous vehicle summits about that opportunity. Now that's looking 10 years down the line, but we are looking that far and trying to understand different ways that we can get around this. So that's something that is always in process. We're looking at different opportunities at the regional levels and different opportunities for support in transportation in different areas of the state. So we'll continue to do that. Recommendation 6 is to better leverage state agencies and partners to assist in providing wraparound services to consumers to assure stability in all areas as they pursue their vocational goals. You know, this is looking at, you know, if they have financial needs or different services that they need from different state agencies or different things to make sure that they're stable at home and independent and all those other things so there's no barriers for that vocational opportunity at the end. So that's something, again, this is also a carryover from the last one a little bit, and something that we always need to pay attention to and find creative ways to make sure that people are getting the services they need in all areas, that even if it's outside of what we do here at MCB, we need to make sure that we have the ability to connect folks to those different services. Recommendation number 7 is to continue to explore data available to help forecast needs and services and budget. RC and partners contribute to the creation of an informational dashboard that is updated regularly. So we talked a little bit about this earlier too in that project that's underway, but this is more than that. This is also just looking at our data consistently, making sure our data is good, making sure that we are using it to help us make decisions moving forward. This is part of our strategic plan as well as an agency. So we have started that review. We've reviewed our data, the data that we're able to pull from our case management systems, and how do we leverage that better. And we're in that process now. So we can talk a little bit more about that as we go forward with our strategic plan, as well as updating you guys quarterly. And the last one is recommendation 8 was to review MCB's implementation of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, WIOA, and current state plan objectives, which is what we're doing now. We want to make sure that is kind of always on the forefront of our conversations and our meetings. And Brian and I have met a few times, and I know we've shared information to the RC a few times, and we want to make sure that communication continues and that you know, we're doing everything we need to do to make sure we're meeting these recommendations and our goals in the state plan. And as an agency, we want to make sure that we're doing what we need to do, and we're getting the feedback that we need to get from folks. So this is part of that process. We'll continue to do that, and we'll continue to have similar updates like this at each meeting, and maybe updates outside the meetings and opportunities for feedback there too. So that's that.
Thank you
Happy
so
to
much.
answer any questions.
Jennifer, did you want to talk about Title II and some of the issues around digital accessibility?
It's been learning about the Department of Justice's clarifications of website and app accessibility under the ADA for state and local governments. Any information, I guess, from MCB on how these clarifications will impact MCB in terms of the website, as well as responsibilities that vendors for MCB might have to do the same.
Yeah, I know we've taken steps to do different things with our website and the communication. John, maybe Mike would be the best person to talk about this, and we have him at our next meeting to discuss this further. I don't know if you have more information on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly time in terms of when it's required to be in place. Sorry, Commissioner, I interrupted you.
Yeah, that's quite, yeah, it's quite a bit of time. We here at the state level have a digital accessibility committee. It's Governor put forth a resolution, so therefore I'm on the committee. The state is working on that too. So between the two, I think a lot of the state government websites certainly would be improved, and other that. So it does take a bit of time. So that just got put forth recently. So we'll see what comes of it.
Okay, thank you.
I think most of the vendors that serve our visually impaired community are pretty good. Most of the large companies are pretty decent, but as you know, a website is in good shape now, accessible and everything, and then all of a sudden changes occur and it becomes a problem. So it's an ongoing situation that's hard to manage, but the regulations and certainly will help out.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
It might be great to have that committee come and present a future RC meeting around what it, that they're working on around digital accessibility around the government agencies in the state as it does up at MCB. So any other questions about the WIOA state plan? We'll check in on it more often than we have in the past. Awesome. Jerry, we do have a new, I sent it around to the RC members, a draft letter around the executive order that affect the makeup of the rehabilitation council. Jerry's gonna kind of present about it, and then we could have a future meeting either over the summer or if possible during our September meeting regarding feedback about this letter and any kind of input that we might have around it. Jerry, would you like to kind of share what the weight is around the draft executive order?
I would. Hi, everybody. Jerry Barrier. So the executive order was an executive order called the Reaffirmation and Reconstitution of the Rehabilitation Advisory Council for the Commission for the Blind that was issued in May of 2022, 2 months before the RC ever became aware of it. So that was one issue that has caused us to create this letter that we're hoping that the RC folks will provide input on, and then it will go to the DLC. We hope to eventually send it to Governor Healy. And I'll just give you a few key points from the letter, and then all of you can read it. It's a very well-written letter done by Deanne Elliott, and I could never explain it as well as it's written into the letter. But number one, this new executive order contains language that is conflicting with Federal Rehabilitation Act and its implementing regulations. And it was also issued without the Rehabilitation Council's knowledge or participation. So that's the beginning of it. We were informed of it. Actually, the RC chair was informed by the then commissioner in August, 2 months after this thing went into effect. So let's see, a few things. There's a word advisory in the name of it, which is contrary to the current language with other rehab councils. So we're asking that that be removed. There are issues related to how members are selected and how members can be removed from the council that the letter addresses. The number of terms, the term limits, we had some suggestions on that. There's an issue with the quorum. The way it's currently written, a quorum could be a very small number of people, even 2 or 3 people currently present could actually vote on an issue. And we want to be sure that some changes are entered that will eliminate that possibility. Also, governor appointments, as you all know, sometimes take 3 or 4 years. I know I was on the council for, I think it was 4.5 years before I was actually appointed. We want to put the word timely into the statement regarding the governor appointing people. We also believe it would be more efficient if all of the terms that were going to expire in a given year would expire on the same day, because currently almost every quarterly meeting, there's someone whose term is up. And it's felt that the paperwork and other things involved in replacing people would probably run more smoothly if we knew when the terms were going to end, and it would be the same for everybody. We also are asking for additional guidance and infrastructure regarding how we can support a more diverse council. I should say support the selection of a more diverse council. So I've barely scratched the surface, but those are just a few of the key issues. And what I would recommend is that I hope that everyone on this council will read the letter in its entirety and understand it. And then if there are questions, you could certainly send them I would think they would go to Brian Switzer, who would then funnel them back to us. I think that's all I have.
I know Deanne Elliott is on the call. Deanne, would you like to share anything about concerning the executive order?
Hi, thank you, Brian. And thank you, Jerry, for that nice summary. I don't have a lot to add. This is a continuing issue that we've been working on for the last couple of years. I do want to give a big shout out to Kira Sweeney at the Disability Law Center, who worked with me, with the BSCB, with Nona Horoyan, who I believe is also on the call, and is unfortunately no longer at DLC, but was really helpful. So the hope that BSCB has, I believe, is that the Disability Law Center will continue its involvement. And we want to make sure that we're kind of following the letter of the law and what is appropriate to ask for. But we have had their support so far. And it's a long process, but we have some time with Governor Healy's term. And yeah, just looking forward to having language that more closely aligns with the federal language. It departs in several key ways, as Jerry mentioned, and I think probably the best thing is for people just to read it. But thank you.
Thank you, Deanne. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the timeline. And if we have to call a summer meeting, we can. Ideally, I'd like for it to be able to come back with comment and feedback for the September meeting. You can also send me any feedback, and I'll pass it on to Jerry and Deanne. Hopefully we'll have time to talk about it some more at our next meeting. We do have any other questions or concerns for Jerry and Deanne around the executive order? We do have 4 members present with Rebecca joining us for voting members, so we are able to vote on the meeting minute for the last I believe it was January, March, our last meeting. The meeting minute, we can vote on those. Would someone like to call a vote for the meeting minute?
This is Jerry. If there are no questions, I would move that we approve the minutes from, I believe it was the March meeting.
Thanks, Jerry. Anyone second it?
This is Jennifer. I'll second.
Awesome. So we can vote on the meeting minute. Does everyone approve? Are there anyone that does not approve? All right. If you approve, say yes.
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 Yes. And if you don't, well, that was everyone. Both. So sounds like nobody did not approve the meeting minute. So we are able to approve the meeting minute for March. Awesome. We'll open up we'll open it up to the public if the public has any question for the commissioner or the RC or MCB. You know, we have a few people from the public here.
I think I heard a hand go up.
If you raise your hand, you're welcome to speak.
Yes, this is Nona Horoyan. I have a question regarding the strategic plan. I serve on Region 2's RC, and I'm just hoping, I'm sure there's other people possibly on this call who may serve on their local regional RC, but is there a plan to get input from the regional RCs and from the community regarding the strategic plan?
Hello, yeah, there is. It's still kind of in the process of developing, Nona, but we will be reaching out. We're at the point now where we're kind of going through it with staff and kind of getting some input in from them and understand how we're going to move forward. But eventually, yes, it will reach out to partners and those type of things down the line.
Great. And I just have one comment. At the last RC meeting, I requested some information from Nate about statistics, and I just want to officially say thank you, Nate. You got those to me, and I very much appreciate them. And thank you to the commissioner as well. And I probably will be reaching out because I do have a couple of questions regarding them. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks, Nona.
Awesome. Anyone else have questions or a compliment for Nathan or the commissioner? Yeah, I do have agree with Nona's sentiment. You know, the commissioner Nathan, Mike, and everyone else at MCB very responsive, and they're great partners in the process. If there are no more questions or concerns, we can end a little bit early. Can I have a motion to end the meeting?
This is Jennifer. I'll make a motion to conclude the meeting.
Anyone second it?
This is Rebecca. I'll second.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer and Rebecca. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.